Treason. It is perhaps the dirtiest word in warfare. It implies a stab in the back, a selling of one's soul. But what if I told you that the single greatest act of deception in human history was technically an act of treason? What if I told you that one man was so exceptionally good at lying that he was decorated as a hero by Adolf Hitler, at the exact same time he was secretly accepted into the Order of the British Empire by King George VI? This isn't fiction. This is the story of a man who built an empire of ghosts, a man who held the fate of D-Day in his hands, armed with nothing more than a tourist guidebook, a vivid imagination, and nerves of absolute steel. He was the only person in the Second World War to receive top military honors from both sides of the conflict. And to understand how he pulled off the impossible con, we have to forget everything we think we know about spies. Forget James Bond. Forget the tuxedos and the martinis. Meet Juan Pujol García. In 1941, he was nobody. A failed chicken farmer from Barcelona, a manager of a shabby hotel. He had no military training, no intelligence background. He didn't even speak English. But Juan Pujol possessed something far more dangerous than a loaded gun. He had a profound, burning hatred for fascism, born from the horrors he witnessed during the Spanish Civil War. And as Europe fell into the shadow of the swastika, this chicken farmer decided he was going to take down the Third Reich, alone. His plan was almost laughably naive. He walked into the British embassy in Madrid and offered his services as a spy. They looked at this balding, sweaty, unremarkable little man and essentially told him to get lost. They didn't need enthusiastic amateurs. They were fighting for survival. He tried 3 times, 3 rejections. Most people would have given up. Juan Pujol got angry, and then he got creative. He realized that if the good guys wouldn't let him in the front door, he'd have to break in through the back. He formulated an audacious idea. He would become a Nazi spy first. He approached German intelligence in Madrid. He spun them a tale. He claimed he was a fanatical pro-Nazi government official traveling to London on business. He was charismatic. He was passionate. And the Nazis? They bought it hook, line, and sinker. They gave him a crash course in cryptography, a bottle of invisible ink, $3,000 in cash, and a code name, Arabel. Their instructions were simple: go to London and build a spy network. Juan left the meeting, cash in pocket, with absolutely zero intention of going to London. He didn't even have a passport to get into England. Instead, he moved his wife and child to Lisbon, Portugal. He rented a cheap apartment and sat down at a desk. His entire espionage toolkit consisted of a tourist guide to England, a train timetable he bought at a kiosk, and a large map of Britain. From that cheap apartment in neutral Lisbon, Juan Pujol began to invent a war. He started writing letters to his Nazi handlers, claiming he was in London. He described the fog, the rationing, the morale of the people, all lifted from newspapers he bought in Lisbon. He was supposed to recruit agents, so he invented them. He created a ghostly army of 27 sub-agents. None of them existed. There was a drunken KLM pilot who couriered messages, a dizzy secretary working in the British War Office, a fiercely anti-English Welsh nationalist stationed near strategic ports. Juan gave them all personalities. He wrote their reports in different handwriting styles. He even had them argue with each other in his messages back to Berlin. He was sending the Nazis hundreds of pages of pure, unfiltered nonsense. And the Germans, they loved it. They were paying him a fortune for information that Juan was literally making up while sitting in his pajamas in Portugal. But this level of noise couldn't stay secret forever. Back in London, British intelligence, MI5, was panic-stricken. They were intercepting German communications and realizing that someone in Britain was hemorrhaging information to Berlin. Who was this master spy, Arabel? And how did he have so many sources? They launched a massive manhunt for a phantom network. It took them months to realize the truth. The signals were coming from Lisbon, not London, and the master spy was the same chicken farmer they had rejected 3 times. MI5 realized they had stumbled upon a generational talent, a natural-born liar of the highest order. They smuggled Juan and his family into Britain immediately. They gave him a new code name, one that fit his theatrical genius, Garbo. Now, the real game began. Garbo wasn't just freelancing anymore. He was the centerpiece of the British double-cross system. His job changed. To keep the Nazis trusting him, he couldn't just send nonsense anymore. He had to send truth. This was the moral tightrope. MI5 had to feed Garbo genuine, low-level military secrets to pass to the Germans, sacrificing small pieces of information to build trust for the big lie later. It was a sickening calculus of war. But while Garbo was mastering the geopolitical stage, his personal world was crumbling. The pressure of leading a double life, surrounded by handlers, unable to speak his native tongue outside the house, was immense. But it was worse for his wife, Araceli. She was isolated in a damp London apartment with 2 small children. She didn't care about defeating Hitler. She just wanted to go home to sunny Spain. In 1943, the tension snapped. Araceli threatened to walk into the Spanish embassy, which was sympathetic to the Nazis, and blow Juan's entire cover if they didn't let her leave. This was a catastrophe. The most valuable weapon the Allies had was about to be neutralized by a domestic dispute. MI5 panicked. They suggested extreme measures to silence her. But Juan had a better idea. He would use his gift for fiction on his own wife. With MI5's help, he staged his own arrest. They dragged him away in front of Araceli. They took her to see him in a fake detention camp where he sat unshaven, weeping, claiming MI5 would execute him because of her outburst. It was cruel, it was manipulative, and it worked perfectly. A terrified Araceli swore secrecy, and the operation was saved. It's a chilling reminder that to be the world's greatest liar, you sometimes have to practice on the ones you love. By 1944, the stakes were absolute. The Allies were preparing for D-Day, the invasion of Fortress Europe. The success of the entire war hinged on one thing: surprise. The Germans knew an attack was coming, but they didn't know where. Enter Operation Fortitude. The mission: convince Hitler that the invasion would strike Pas de Calais, the closest point to England, and that Normandy was just a distraction. At the center of this grand deception was Agent Garbo. Garbo's imaginary network of agents went into overdrive. They reported massive troop buildups across from Calais. They reported inflatable rubber tanks as real armored divisions. The Germans were drowning in Garbo's reports. They were so convinced by his network that they stopped sending their own aerial reconnaissance planes over England. Why risk pilots when Garbo was telling them everything? Hitler swallowed the bait. He massed his deadliest panzer divisions at Calais, waiting for the attack that wasn't coming. The night before D-Day, the tension in MI5 headquarters was suffocating. Garbo had to make the final move. He had to send a message that was accurate enough to maintain his cover for future use, but too late for the Germans to act on it. At 3 a.m. on June 6th, as thousands of Allied ships were crossing the Channel toward Normandy, Garbo radioed his handlers in Berlin. He had an urgent message. The invasion was imminent. But the German radio operator on the other end was asleep. He missed the call. When he finally woke up hours later, the Allied troops were already storming the beaches of Normandy. When the Nazis finally received the message, they were furious that they had missed the warning. But Garbo turned it around on them. He sent a blistering message back to Berlin, shouting at them for their incompetence, demanding to know why his imaginary agents risked their lives when the German operators couldn't even stay awake. It was a masterstroke of reverse psychology. The Nazis apologized to him, and then he delivered the coup de grace. Even as the battle raged in Normandy, Garbo convinced the German high command that this was all just a large-scale feint. He insisted the real attack was still coming at Calais any day now. Incredibly, Hitler believed him again. He kept crucial armored divisions sitting uselessly in Calais for weeks, waiting for Garbo's phantom army, while the Allies secured their foothold in France. Thousands of Allied soldiers, who should have died on those beaches, lived because of Juan Pujol's lies. In Berlin, the German high command was in awe of their super spy Arabel. They believed his network was the only thing working in their failing intelligence apparatus. In July 1944, Adolf Hitler personally authorized a award of the Iron Cross, second class, to the man who had just ensured Germany would lose the war. 5 months later, in a secret ceremony in London, Juan Pujol García was made a member of the Order of the British Empire for services to the Crown. He held both medals. The supreme irony of a world gone mad. When the war ended, the greatest actor in the world had to exit the stage. Garbo knew too much. The Nazis, now fleeing Europe, might hunt him down if they ever learned the truth. MI5 helped him disappear. In 1949, they faked his death in Africa. Juan Pujol moved to Venezuela. The man who had manipulated dictators and commanders faded into total obscurity. He ran a small, quiet gift shop and bookstore in Caracas. Nobody knew his secret for nearly 40 years, until a determined journalist tracked him down in the 1980s. When he was finally brought back to London for a reunion, the few surviving men of D-Day wept when they met the little chicken farmer who had saved their lives. History is often written by the victors, but sometimes it's written by the liars. Juan Pujol García was a traitor to the Nazis, a deceiver of his own family, and a fabricator of reality. But in the darkest hour of the 20th century, his deception was the ultimate truth. He proved that sometimes the only way to fight pure evil is to look it right in the eye and lie better than it does.